how to fix your credit. You might be thinking, well, Greg, you and the team, you're real estate people. Like, what do you know about fixing credit? Well, first, I can talk about improving credit from personal experience. And then also in real estate, we learn so much about so much. While we're not attorneys, we do learn legal things. While we're not home inspectors, we know a lot about home inspections and home conditions. So we know a lot, and that's why as a realtor, we are a linchpin for a lot of other people's industries. And so talking on credit repair, we so often work hand in hand with lenders. We understand the ins and outs of loans, and we're getting more and more knowledgeable on that on this team in particular. So later on this month, I should say, we have a really huge announcement. I'm so excited for it. I can't wait to share it with you. We're gonna have a special guest on the next video. However, we're talking about today. We're talking about fixing credit because we are now entering the busiest time of the real estate year, where statistically more homes are bought and sold as we're entering spring. School's gonna be letting out and people wanna move before school starts again. Even if you don't have kids, that's just kind of this thing where the weather's nicer. And it turns out you or maybe somebody that you know doesn't have perfect credit. Like, you wanna buy, you don't want to pay somebody else's mortgage anymore, and yet the credit's not quite where it needs to be. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. 5 ways actually to get the credit score up. And at the end, I'm going to share with you just an interesting story, all credit going to my lovely wife, Letha, because the story wouldn't be as cool. The story wouldn't exist actually if it wasn't for her. So first thing you need to do is get your credit report. Get your credit report and read it. There's a lot of different ways to get your credit reports. The easiest way is to go to Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax.com and sign up for free so you can see your reports from those big 3 credit reporting agencies. There are other websites out there that you can go to and sign up and get, 3 free credit reports or 5 or 1 or whatever it might be before they start charging you. So just be aware of that. Full disclosure up front, I'm not a credit repair specialist. So you do your own investigation, do your own due diligence. There's a lot of good companies out there that help people credit repair. There's a lot of scammers out there as well, or just they'll take your money and you don't really get anything for it. I've also found in my experience, in my now going on 20 years as a realtor, a good loan officer will give you a plan for free on how to best fix your credit. And then all you have to do is follow the playbook. So number 1, sign up, get your credit reports and read them. Like, it's not gonna do any good unless you go through it and see like, hey, what's on there? And the more you read them, actually, you'll understand more and more about credit and credit reporting. So when you start reading those reports, you might be like, hey, that thing right there, that's not my thing. Like, that's not even me. Or that was closed 5 years ago. Number 1 is dispute. Those that legitimately can be disputed, dispute them. Dispute them to the credit agencies. Hey, this needs to come off. And you're gonna follow their procedure, whether it's an email, a phone call, a letter, or all the above, and dispute. And then once you've done that, follow up, has it fixed, and then dispute again. And then follow up and dispute again. And follow up and dispute it. It's gonna be a bit of a pain just up front, but the goal is to get your credit up, get a better interest rate, be able to do what you want to do. So remember, when it gets hard and tedious because you feel like people aren't listening to you, hang in there, be consistent, do the thing, because the payoff on the other end is you can get the house, you can get the car at a better rate. Like literally, the higher credit score, you're gonna get a better interest rate. Number 3 is get the high credit card balances under control, right? You might have an unsecured credit card, like, what's in your wallet is at Capital One, and you have a $25,000 limit, and you have a $21,000 balance, and you got some other card, say from Chase Bank, and that has a $20,000 limit and a $15,000 balance. Those high limits with the high balance kill your credit score. Like, that brings it down. So keep your high limit, keep your credit card, but just pay that down. Pay them down as much as possible. And the reason why you don't want to really cut them up, like if you have 10 credit cards, yeah, you're going to want to do some plastic surgery there for sure. But if you can keep 2, maybe 3 credit cards with those high limits and low to no balance, That's gonna really help your credit. That's gonna play into my story in a little bit. So that's number 3, get the high balances under control by paying them down. Number 4 is pay off what's legit, like things that are delinquent, liens, judgments. Like if you actually have a judgment, not a lien, but a judgment on you, and you get to a real estate closing, you can't buy, nor can you sell until that judgment is paid off. So get that stuff settled. And maybe if you get a little savvy on it, or you hire a professional or attorney, you can get that balance down. So if you owe $1,000, maybe you can pay $750. The one thing I really would recommend there, if you can, it'll take some finagling, but it can be done, is you say, hey, company, if I pay this off, within the next 10 days or 15 days, I want you to remove it from my credit report. Not just say that it's paid, because it's still gonna show as like you had this delinquent history on it, but that it's gone. Like tell them that it should be removed from the credit agency. And if you bark up enough trees and talk to enough supervisors, that can be done for you. All right, so before you pay it, negotiate that on the front end, get it in writing in an email or a hard copy letter. Say, yes, you pay X amount of dollars, we will take this off of your credit report. Then pay it, right? And then getting that stuff off your report, at a minimum, just showing that it's paid, credit score goes up. Number 5, what if you have no credit? Like it's not bad credit, it's not good credit, you just got none, or you have little credit. So a little bit of story in my own personal history, Letha and I, like when we were younger, we had one kid, we had one car, we needed a second car. We didn't owe anybody anything. We had no debt, and it was a beautiful thing. We went to buy a car and they were charging us 13.9% interest. Like, wait, what? Why? It was a total scam. Well, we don't know who you are. I'm like, yeah, I don't owe anybody anything. But we didn't have credit history. So they didn't know if we were a good bet or not. So they charge us high interest for that little car. So that being said, down the road, we wound up getting a credit card, which built up our credit report, but then we had a high balance. This is going well over 20 years now. We wound up getting rid of that card because we just weren't good with keeping that balance low. So we paid it off, chopped it up. So however, if you're looking, so you don't fall into that trap, if you haven't had a credit card before, there's something called a secured credit card, right? You can go to your bank, say, hey, I want a credit card with a $500 limit. You give $500 to the bank, and that acts as the collateral on the credit card. So if you never not pay it, they take that money, and you can pay, and then as you charge on it, you just pay it as you go, and then that will build your credit. Pay it off in full. And then if you need like maybe a Home Depot card, like a retailer card, next time you go have some nuts and bolts or you have to buy some 2x4s over at Home Depot, you can use that card instead. And if you spend $20 at Home Depot, charge it, pay it off at the end of the month, and that builds your credit. So a couple of cool ways to do that. So to my little story here, as I mentioned just a little while ago, like we chopped up our credit cards. And we're running a business. Like we have a team, and we're office supplies, office fees, rent, things like that. And they're giving away points and airline miles and all this stuff, and you're kind of getting paid. There's a way to get some lagniappe on that. And so all credit goes to my wife Letha on this. All credit. She's like, why don't we just do this? Like we'll be better. We're better position. We're just gonna pay it off. Okay, she found a good card, we get points for it. And then our credit score was always running in the 700s. She was like 720, 730. I was like maybe 700, 710. She might've been as high as 750, which is good credit. Like you get some good rates and things like that. And I was like, I'm happy with that. And then last summer I was hiking out in Utah and on a road trip with one of my sons, and we wound up in Las Vegas and needed to buy a car. We were not gambling in Vegas, we were driving through, and just a serious circumstances and chain of events. We wound up in Vegas needing to buy a car. Like seriously? And so we get to the dealership, we found the car, great car, found the car that we liked, me and my son, and they're checking my credit. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be around 700, 710. Keep in mind, we've been having this credit card where we've been paying off in full every month. Yeah, Mr. Tepper, your credit's at 830. I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, all right. And I'm like, honey, my credit's 830. Like, I'm awesome. I'm so awesome. And she's like, yeah, genius. Like, I've been has this credit card and I've been paying it off in full. That's why your credit's so high. I'm like, okay, all credit goes to her for that. And that was a period of maybe 6-7 months we were doing that. So it didn't take long for it to jump at least 100 points. Okay, again, paid in full. So it just ramped it up. And we got think back, last June 2024, interest rates are still running at 7%. Unsecured credit cards are higher than that. We got an incredibly low rate, like well below 7%, something like 2.9 or something on the balance due on the car. So that's just some of the magic that can happen when you get your credit score up. When you do some of these tips and tricks that we've mentioned on improving your credit score. And that will help you, really, the point of this is to help buy a home. Or give it to a family member or a friend who's looking to buy and they don't have great credit. This can help them. So to buy a home, if you want to talk, if you remember there was a video several months back about what's the difference between a hard credit pull and a soft credit pull, go look back at that if you're interested. Hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for tuning in and we'll see you soon. Remember, stay tuned for next video as well. We have a huge announcement, so exciting. It's a game changer for the team. It talks about place and our special guest. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.